Well, head coach Isaac Brown also has a similar challenge, really going to have to create some chemistry with a lot of his new players, 14 players who have never played in Charles Koch Arena, just absolute mind-blowing. But why is he the coach that really can instill the chemistry here quickly with this group?
Well, the minor league baseball team in Wichita is called the Wind Surge. No one has navigated the winds of change like Isaac Brown. I mean, this is a guy that came in on short notice, built a championship team in the American, rebuilt the roster, and then all of a sudden next year kind of stubbed their toe a little bit. In Wichita, they're expected to win championships, and now rebuilding the entire roster with a lot of new faces. I mean, we're talking about an entire roster overhaul. But the bottom line is this is a team with a very talented guard, with a lot of new faces, and a man who has faced the winds of change in Wichita before.
An all-around people person, a player's coach. Certainly these guys are going to be fired up, ready to play for him. And let's now bring in Coach Brown right now. Coach, as you take a look at all of the new faces that you have here on this team this year, how have you been creating the chemistry, and where has this team grown the most?
I think the chemistry is good so far. These guys have been working really hard all summer long, trying to get our system in, just focusing on defense. You got to be able to defend at a high level in order to compete in the AAC, and these guys have done a great job this summer. Everyone is healthy right now. We have some veteran guys back in Craig Porter and Kenny Poto. They anchor our defense, and the other guys are just, buying into playing the right way, playing like 100%, giving every day in practice and doing the right things. And we're growing. We're getting better and better as a team every day in practice.
Okay, we're going to go right to questions for members of the media, please. Please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to get into the queue, and we'll take questions in the order in which they come in. We'll start with Sally Engels, from KAKE-TV in Wichita.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Nice. Good. I'm doing well. Excellent out here. Glad to be here at Media Day. So for you guys, you talk about the roster overhaul. Obviously, you need a leader of that. And Craig Porter seems to be the obvious guy, as you mentioned, who's kind of anchoring the defense, who's going to be the main focus on offense for a lot of teams. How is he kind of responding to that? And how is he taking on this sort of extended role as not only the team's kind of go-to guy, but the voice of the players?
He's responded well. We talked about it all summer long, about him being a more vocal leader at the practice floor, in the locker room, and he's done a great job of that. He's one of the best guards in the league when you talk about doing a lot of different things. He was second on our team in rebounding, first in assists, first in steals, first in block shots. I'm expecting big things out of Craig Porter this year. He's gotten himself in tip-top shape, and the other guys are starting to follow him. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on the floor, and we need him to continue that.
And when you see where your team is picked in the preseason rankings, is that something that you think about at all, or is that something that kind of gets you a little bit fired up? What does that do for you?
Yeah, not at all. It's all about preseason rankings. You got to go out and play on the floor, and games are won on the floor. I just want this team to continue to get better and better. I'm sure those guys are going to play with a chip on their shoulder now, being picked 8. But 2 years ago, we were picked 7, and we ended up winning the league. So we don't worry about preseason rankings. We just worry about getting better and better every day in practice.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll go next to John Titel, please, Hoops HT.
Morning. The team shot about 31% from behind the arc last year. I was curious if you think you need to improve it, and if so, do you have the talent there to do so?
Yes, that was our biggest focus this summer, to go out and get guys that can make shots. And we went out and we recruited, and we need to find more shooters. I think that was the biggest struggle for us last year, was making shots from the three-point line. And that's our focus this summer. That's all we worked on this summer, getting up a lot of shots. Guys are staying after practice, getting up shots, and we're shooting the ball much better. We just got to continue to take good shots, and guys got to get in the gym and work really hard, because you got to be a better three-point shooting team in order to compete in the AAC.
Isaac, Mark Adams, first of all, your favorite dish at the Doodah Diner. Let's get that out of the way right away.
I would say pork bellies.
There you go. Good. That's a great choice. I like that as well. Now let's talk about your team. Craig Porter Jr., Kenny Poto, they're back. I study you guys. You know I'm around a lot. I've been with you guys forever, from the Missouri Valley days to the American, now called your biggest games in the Roundhouse over the last decade or so. I have no clue what you have coming after that. I know you've got transfers that are talented from Florida State and other places. Who stands out to you right now? Who should I look to?
I think we got a lot of newcomers coming in right now. The guys that have really been standing out, James Rojas, a transfer from Alabama, is really playing well, plays the 4 and the 5 spot, can really stretch the defense, can make threes, can really drive it. Jaquan Walton, coming out of high school, was a top 75 player in the country, a guy that plays the 3, the 2, the 1 spot. He's 6'7", can really create for others. So those two guys have really stood out. We have another kid in Xavier Bell, a local kid that played at Drexel, that's got experience, that's went to the NCAA tournament. So that's what we try to do. We want to go out and hit the transfer portal hard. The portal is an opportunity to get better, and I think we've done that.
Okay, we saw some hands up in the queue. If anyone has any further questions for Coach, please just raise hand. And we'll go back to Emmy Bosey, please, with the sunflower. Oh, Emmy, you just need to unmute if you would, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so I know one player you didn't mention was maybe Jalen Ricks, and I kind of noticed he was a kind of a big recruit for you guys, and you got season. What have you kind of seen from him so far in practice?
Jalen is much improved, you know. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's one of those guys that can really make shots. Last year, he tore his meniscus, so he had the red shirt, but he's done a great job this summer in improving his defense, can really score the basketball, and we're expecting big things from him this year.
Hey, Coach Browns, Brooke Weisbrod here in the studio. I know this summer you did some military training as well as some boxing to get into shape. I know you're excited about your guys. So with 12 new faces, who kind of came out of there with the strongest hands? Like, who's your best boxer on the team?
I probably would say Craig Porter, you know, being the point guard, a guy that's got a high basketball IQ. He learned different things in the boxing ring, and I felt like he was the one that made a difference in the ring.
Coach Brown, thank you so much for the time, and looking forward to hearing from Craig here very shortly. Appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you tip off in a few weeks.
Thank you for having me.
When you have so many new players, to have your point guard, though, back, Craig Porter, why is that going to be really a difference maker for this team?
Well, if you watch Craig Porter at the end and during the overtime of the Classic game that they lost against Houston, then that answers every single question. He was dynamic. He was just tremendous in the clutch. I mean, there's a go-to guy that you give the ball to. He can create his own shot. He can knock down a 3-ball from anywhere. He can get to the rim. He finds open teammates. To have a guy like that to build around, that's a luxury. I remember a guy named Fred VanVleet not all that long ago, now plays for the Toronto Raptors. And whenever you had a Fred VanVleet on the floor, you had a chance. Now, is Porter as good as Fred? Maybe not, but he's really, really good, and he embraces that go-to time when they really need him.
And you know where he's good. He's a better vocal leader. He's in better shape. He's obviously a good boxer. Yep. He's got these hands, you know. He's got that toughness. And he was top 10 in the American in assists, blocks, and steals. So those are all really important hustle statistics that will help blend those 12 new faces for Coach Brown's team.
Certainly really versatile, and excited to hear from him soon. But as you look across Wichita State, who of these new guys, when you heard from Coach Brown, who excited you the most of that question that you asked him? I
think Xavier Bell from Drexel, because he's coming home. And unless you've been in the Roundhouse, and I would ask every single basketball fan, if you've never been to Wichita, you've never been to the Roundhouse, go there. It's a special place to play. I can understand why he would come home because of the atmosphere there. That entire community embraces basketball. They bleed basketball. They want winners, and they're willing to put forth their time and effort and talents to help that be a national program versus just another program.
Well, we now welcome in Craig Porter to hear from him and the growth of his leadership. Craig, where do you think you've grown the most as a leader here on this Wichita State team with all of these new faces?
I think the biggest part, I've really been focusing on is just vocally leading with everybody in that's new besides me and Kenny. You know, I just got to get everybody going and be prepared because season starts in a little less than 3 weeks, and I got to get these guys going, and it's my biggest priority.
Craig, this is Mark Adams in studio. Great to see you again. I really enjoyed your stretch run against Houston. I know it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to and your fans wanted it to, but that was your coming out party that day. Tell me, what was your mindset coming down the stretch against a nationally ranked team and how you dominated those last 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of overtime? How did you feel? What were you thinking?
Really, Coach Brown, he was just leaning on me a little bit. We knew we needed a spark, and the game was just going on, and as it was going, I just knew my team needed a little lift, and whatever it had to be, whether it be defense, offense, anytime my name or number was called, I just made sure I delivered.
Craig, hey, it's Brooke Weisbrod in the studio. You know, watching you play, your game just speaks for itself, but we've also known how much more of a vocal leader that you've become. I'm wondering what that process was like for you. You know, was it a challenge for you to start to speak more? And how does that look when you're in practices and games? What are you telling your players?
It actually, like over the summer, IB was sending me little stuff of Ja Morant, just like talking really loud, and how he just overall vocally became a lot better as a leader, and how he transitioned from college to the NBA. And it was just a big focus because me, I'm a pretty quiet guy. I kind of sit to myself, just stay to myself. I don't really talk a lot, but it was a big adjustment because it's something we need and something I need to focus on as myself, just being an overall leader, knowing that coming into this year, everybody's depending on me. So it was kind of the really big focus in my whole career.
Okay, we'll move to questions from the media now. We'll start with Sully Engels, please, KAKE-TV in Wichita.
Hey, Craig, you know, you kind of mentioned that big game against Houston last year. Obviously, you had a lot of great performances. You know, going into this season, how much of that is just kind of a boost of confidence to you to let you know that, you know, it doesn't matter who's in front of you, any team in the nation, you can really go out and do what you're capable of doing?
It's a big boost. I mean, I've always known that my game speaks for itself, and really that my coaches and everybody just depend on me and have so much faith in me. And obviously I have a lot of faith in myself and know what I can do. And it's just me being able to take that next step and have that confidence just like everybody else has in me, and it just shows over and over time again, no matter what I do.
And for your team as a whole, to see where y'all are picked preseason in the conference, you know, what does that do for you? Is that something that kind of lights a fire under you? Is that something you don't really think about? Or what's kind of the feel when you see that number for you guys?
I would say it's kind of both. You know, being picked towards the bottom four is something that nobody ever wants to have, but it also lights that fire, like you said, just making you want to prove to everybody that you're much better than that. And like Coach Isaac Brown said, my first year here, we were picked 7th and we finished first. So it's just kind of trying to relate that same message to the guys and making sure that they know that no matter where it's not about where you start at, it's about where you finish at. So,
you know, talk a lot about your game, about steals, about all the other, you know, stats you fill up on the stat sheet. But blocking shots is something that I don't know if there's a guard in the nation that's better than you. Is that how you feel? Is that, you know, when it gets around the rim, are you the biggest, smallest rim protector in the nation?
I would say, yeah, that, but I got to give credit to this former LSU player, Eric Gaines. I watched a lot of his games and how he kind of anticipates things, so I don't want to say I learned a little thing or two, but I've seen just the way he reads defenses, how he plays it, and just kind of mimic that, and it just plays a perfect role into how I play and how I can just overall set up scenarios before they happen.
Thanks, Craig.
We'll take the next one from John Titel, please, Hoops HD.
Good morning, Craig. You won a national junior college title back in 2019. I was curious, what did that teach you about what it takes to win, either in general or specifically at the D1 level?
That was my freshman year at college, so playing on that team, it was, when I first got there, I didn't really play a lot. I couldn't really figure out how to fit into the system, how to get more minutes, so really it just took me digging deep into basketball and into my own mindset and just learning whatever I had to do, doing whatever my coach needed me to do to get on the floor first, and then just doing every little thing that was needed for my team to win. And that year it just happened to be rebounding, defense, and just making wide open shots. And it all played out perfectly for me, and it's gotten me where I'm at now, and I'm super proud of myself.
Craig Morgan-Uber here in the studio. People, your coaches, teammates describe you as cool, calm, and collected. I'm curious, what do you do before a game? What are you listening to? Any pregame rituals to get in the zone?
Really, I'm just on my phone texting my girlfriend. She keep me calm. Her and my mom just talking to my family before games. They just talk to me, let me know that no matter how good I do or however the outcome is, they just talk to me, just staying in my ear, just making sure that I'm cool, calm, and collected, like y'all said, and just overall knowing that life is bigger than basketball, but this is the main thing that I want to do and what makes me the happiest. So, yeah, that's just family. Just keeps me calm.
Craig Porter Jr., you have had an interesting ride from Terre Haute, Indiana, and you've been challenged in many, many different ways in your life. I'm curious as to what you've learned along that journey.
I learned to never take anything for granted. As I see stories floating around about a lot of athletes before my time that have had situations happen when they either at their school or go back home or anything, just trying to avoid all that, just staying focused, trying to make sure I can make a way to make sure my family and my future family are set up, just trying to make the best of everything I can.
Craig, it sounds like you're a big student of the game. I mean, you're telling me you're taking pointers from John Morant on his vocal leadership, his transition, and I believe you said it was Ed Gaines from LSU about learning how to play defense. What is it about film that you're now learning to kind of dissect, as you're watching it, versus just, hey, this is me on a screen, tell me what I did poorly? Are you able to analyze film, and what's that doing for you?
Yeah, when I analyze film, it's just more of, like I do it a lot with our coaches, just more of talking, slowing it down, just seeing what I missed, what I could have done better, just really trying to play the game in reactions and anticipation, because once you make a decision, you can't take it back in game. So really just trying to overall get a feel of what could have happened, and just in that moment when I get to that point, just trying to play off reaction and knowing ahead of time what is going to happen. So just reading.
Craig, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate you joining us here in the studio, and looking forward to seeing you and your teammates tip off here in just a few short weeks.
Thank you all.